Sorry, what up, y'all? It's your man, Abuamerican. Sorry. I was saying I was on another screen. And I was just getting mad. I'm like, I've been on the air literally 30 seconds. Me. You know what I mean? I've had my little lead-in screen on 30 seconds. And can you hear me now? Can you give me a 1 in the chat if you can hear me now? You should be able to hear me now. I turned my mic on. What about now? You guys hear me now? Let me check my mic. Hold on 1 second. What's going on here? Audio. I don't know. I'm showing audio on my side. I don't know what's going on. Can't hear me? What is going on? Technical difficulties. So what is going on with my mic? Static, huh? Okay. Let me check this. Hold on. So what is static? Static, huh? Okay. Let me check this. Hold on. Oh, that's annoying. Give me a second. Let me see if I can figure this out. Sorry, guys. This is the first time this has happened. Audio. Microphone. Okay. How about now? Is this better? Is this better? Yes, sir. Let's see if I can figure this out. Sorry, guys. This is the first time this has happened. All right, fine. Not using the mic today. Don't know what's going on with that thing today. So, thing give me a hard time here. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Anyway. Okay. Before we get into these questions, you already had questions coming in already. What I was saying was, man, I got demonetized before I even went live. You know, that little intro I do for 5 minutes to give people time to come in. That's like you're live during that time. They demonetized me during that time. Can you believe that? It's like, what the heck? How do you demonetize, like, you know, just a static video of Tower Bridge? Freaking crazy. Dang, YouTube, man. Anyhow, what I want to talk about today in between questions is you get what you deserve. And multiple things brought this up, but I guess we should jump right into the questions here. Question number 1. H1 says, when I bring up polygyny with my wife, she becomes upset and goes quiet, but she tries to hide it and pretends nothing is wrong. What is the best way to proceed with getting a second wife? Well, the question, there's actually a follow-up question to this, which is, did you discuss this before you got married? You know, if you just springing this on her now and there was never discussions before you ever got married, it's a problem, because now you're trying to introduce like a new part of the game that she never really truly agreed on before she married you. You know, generally, if you want to talk about second wives, this is something you talk about and discuss before you get married in the first place. I always say, if you get married and there was no discussion of polygyny prior to you getting married, usually if you try and take a second wife, the first marriage fails. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't always go like that, but it seems to be a consistently huge factor in leading to a divorce when you take a second wife. Now, the second wife, you know, what you made with her and you agree with her, you know, if the first wife leaves, then she gets comfortable with the idea of being the only wife. And if you marry again, she's going to get upset. So, you know, these things got to be like really, really, really like hashed out early on with these women. You know, you want to give them the option, make sure they know what they're getting into. But generally, it's tough to just do. Really, here's the thing: if you're going to get a second wife in your particular position and in your particular case, what's going to happen is when you bring it up, she's, you know, of course she's going to get upset. She's going to, you know, she's a woman. You'd expect, you know, she's jealous. And so what's going to happen is you're going to deal with all the stress and problems of having a second wife without actually having the benefit of a second wife. So if you're going to do it, just do it. It's one of those Nike things, and expect a fallout. So what you're going to do is basically the day of the marriage or the day before the marriage, you're going to say, hey, look, I'm going to get married, this, that, the other, you know what I mean? And then maybe I'll be back, you know, and then you just go get married. You know, this is just one of those things you have to spring on her, because there's no coaxing into this entire thing. And that's really not a good technique, but it's, you know, if I ever fall into that situation, then that's what I did in the past. It worked for me, but I don't advise it. But I'm telling you this because really bringing it up to her, you know, like this, unless you have a solid prospect where you're about to get married, all you're doing is stressing the woman out unnecessarily. You know, don't stress her out, man. It's your woman, man. Don't be driving her all crazy like that, bro. If you have a solid prospect that you are looking at marrying, then bring it up. But hypotheticals with her, dude, you're just driving her emotions nuts, bro. You're just gonna break her heart, man. Really, that's all you're gonna do. You're gonna stress her out over and over and over again, and it's not good for her. It's not good for your relationship. Is it beta or simpy if your girl drives you? It can be, but it doesn't have to be. No. I think that's reading too deep. This is like times when you guys read too deep into this type of stuff, man. You know, sometimes you tired, your girl drives. You know, it's no big deal. You know, it's nothing. I don't see it as a big deal. You know, I think this is reading too deep. You know, that's my humble opinion. I don't think it really matters. Should a brother move forward with a sister who's too supportive of the men are trash jokes, yet seeking a husband? Man, don't mess with that dude. What are you? You're a man. What's her dad? Her dad is a man. How does she support a statement like that? Men are trash. Go around talking about women are trash and see how many women want to marry you. Yeah, try it. Zero. That's how many sisters are going to try and mess with you when you're talking about women are trash, all women are whores, and all these, you know, red pill zone Trumpisms that they throw around. Go ahead and like kick some of that out there. You know, kick that game and see how many sisters are going to be interested in marrying you. Zero. But somehow we guys, we always like give women a pass on this BS. Why? They don't give us a pass on it. They're gonna say, "Oh, you misogynist, man hater, or woman hater, blah blah blah, this, that, the other," and they're gonna like, you know, really dislike you for disliking their gender. But then guys, we give them a pass for like hating men. Sounds like you're setting yourself up for trouble, bro. I wouldn't mess with that. Why is she looking for a husband if men are trash? It doesn't even make sense. You know, it's just, yeah. I say this because on Twitter, these Muslim sisters, hijabi or not, they seem so confused. They are confused, bro. They're confused because their men folk are confused. You know, they're on. I mean, imagine the situation. You got women on Twitter talking about men are trash, living under a man's roof, her dad. You really want to mess with that? Of course she's confused. How could she not be confused? I'm living with my dad, but men are trash. Like, dude, I wouldn't mess with them. I wouldn't mess with it personally. She need to solve that stuff. She need to figure that out and then get back to me when she's got to figure out. What's wrong with the Muslim community on Twitter? They come across as they've understood Islam better than the next man. The Muslim community on Twitter is generally trash. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like them. I've got like 7,000. I've got 7,900 followers, almost 8,000, and I have over 8,000 blocks. Guess where they're all from? Muslim Twitter. No joke. Wallahi, no joke. I have over 8,000 blocks on Twitter, and they're all from Muslim Twitter. You know why? Because they're cancer. They're like the most useless lot in the ummah. I don't know what that says about me. I'm on there too. They're terrible. I don't like messing with them because just they're brain dead. They're really just they're the worst lot you can find on the internet in terms of the ummah, man. I don't mess with Muslim Twitter in general. If they come and they're cool and they correct whatever else, I deal with them. But if not, they'll block a mundo. Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Butter. It's good, man. Wow. H1 with another question. Should one seek to upset his wife by talking about polygyny to create an emotional roller coaster she needs? Not in this one, man. You could do that in other ways. This one is not something that you really want to mess with, like, because her reaction is going to be pretty extreme. Even if she doesn't express it openly and she doesn't show it openly, it's going to be a pretty extreme reaction that she's having internally. That's not one you really want to mess around with unless you know for a fact I could joke with my women about that because they know that's what I'm all about. They know that's my thing. I could joke about that, because you guys seen Lee and Shay, back when I had Becky and whatnot. I'm always on camera with one of my girls, so they know what's up. They know how I am. They know who I am. They know their insecurities have been assuaged. They're no longer feeling insecure about the idea of another woman coming into the relationship. But until you give your woman that feeling, joking with her about it is really just going to be like some serious emotional blows to her, man. I wouldn't joke around like that. I wouldn't joke about it. Not unless you've got that type of relationship to where she's like calm about it. And you said in your earlier comment that she visibly, she shook. So I wouldn't do it, man. I mean, it's a tough thing to do to a woman. I wouldn't do that, bro. Yeah. Yeah. Plus, you say I'll get a new wife, and then you don't. What would you think of your word? Exactly. That's another thing. If you talk about another wife and you never bring one around, she's gonna be like, "This dude, you're a clown." And then when you're serious, she's gonna be like, "This dude's still a clown." So it's really like counterproductive in terms of like, yeah, Alex makes a very good and a very solid point. It's also counterproductive in actually, if you don't take action, if you don't pull the trigger, you're gonna look crazy. Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mobad. Salam. Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My friend just got married to a single mom older than him. He's 22, she's 25. She has a kid and has been divorced twice. I tried warning him of the red flags. How can I help him? You can't. He put his foot in that fire. Hopefully it doesn't burn him. Hopefully it doesn't burn him. That's all you could say. Hopefully it works out. There's always the exception to the norm. Let's hope his becomes one of them. You know what I mean? Let's hope his let's hope he becomes an exception to the norm. We can't say, we don't know Ilm Ghaib. He might actually make it work out. Maybe. But then, a lot of, and I'm not ashamed of it, but a lot of my divorces, and I've had quite a few, is from doing stuff like this, where I said, all right, let me see if with my game, my looks like this, red pill knowledge, female psychology knowledge, can I make what everyone says is a bad situation work? And you usually can, and I mean, I put in some work and I put in some effort to try and make this stuff work with these, with these women. And generally, as much as I don't, ascribe myself or, to the red pill world anymore, they're pretty accurate, in the results that comes about from these relationships. It's undeniable fact. But it might work out because I made it work once. So I made one situation that was supposed to be bad work out, and it worked out really well. So anything's possible. I don't want to rule it out. You know what I'm saying? If a brother proceeds to move forward with a sister and she comes across positively in person, but on social media, she's another person, how does the one brother deal with this double personality situation? Well, he's going to have to take action to he's going to have to put her on the spot in terms of a reverse congruence test. We know that women usually, as they say, quote unquote, dookie test dudes. You need to dookie test her, or he needs to. So what he needs to do is put her in a position where it's like, she needs to really show who she is. He needs to challenge her on her social media and be like, hey, look, you're acting like this, you're doing like this, I really think, whatever else, or you should try and delete this post or whatever else. See how she reacts in him challenging her social media. Because women tend to reflect their real lives and believe their real lives or your real life is reflected in social media. This is why so many women say, Abuamerican, I feel sorry for your women. I feel sorry for your wives, because they really think I'm a jerk because I'm a jerk online. No, I just deal with a bunch of jerks online. And so I'm a jerk back to people online. But, my wives are quite happy. They love me, quite significantly, very well. Because I'm a good husband. But they can't imagine that because what they see on social media, they believe is who you are. And yes, I am a jerk, but only the people who are jerks to me. And a lot of people online are jerks. So that's what people, they get out of me what they reflect. So it's the same thing. What is she doing online? I would say there's obviously a lack of congruence, and he needs to find out what it is. He needs to start challenging her on her social media and how she behaves there and see how she reacts. Is she going to prioritize him and what he wants her, to look like in terms of social media? Or is she going to just say, hey, you know what? My social media is more important than you, and therefore you got to go. Or, I'm doing this and you have to accept how I'm going to be on social media. Because at the end of the day, if this guy marries her, that's a reflection of him, how his woman behaves on social media. This is why, like, when my women start wilding out online, I just go out and I just be like, look, you delete this stuff or I'm taking your phone away for a month, whatever else like this. And I'll literally do it. I got tweets on it. You can see it. So, because that's a reflection of you, and that's why you don't see my women folk online arguing with people, arguing with dudes, doing all this stuff. And if they do, I'm just like, hey, look, man, what you doing here, homie? And then they stop. It's a reflection of that man. Can you explain the equal part of polygamy? Does it have to be exact? Man, there's so many books on this. I'd loathe going into this. Exact as possible, yes. You should be just and fair. Allahu Ta'ala, you got a wife and she has 2 kids, you got a wife and she has no kids. Do they need the same size apartment? Are they going to have the same costs? So just because you're buying diapers and whatever else on this house, you're going to now have to spend the equal amount there. We have to be reasonable and realistic here in terms of spending on the wives, in terms of luxury items, travel, all this type of stuff. This has to be equal. But I think in terms of household costs, this is more, subjective and realistic as far as I understand. I don't want to go too much detail into this because it's like scholarly stuff and there's so much material written on this that, it makes more sense to actually read books of the ulama as opposed to listening to Abuamerican. What's the downside of marrying a woman without a father in her life? It depends on how long her father's been out of her life. She doesn't have a man in her life, or she didn't have a father in her life. How does she know how to treat a husband? You got to imagine what the daughter sees the mother doing is generally going to be the way that she believes is a correct and standard methodology of treating her husband in the future. So if she grows up with a corrupted, angry, abusive, wicked mom, and the dad sticks around and tolerates that, what does she think? What do you think she's going to think is a normal relationship when she gets married? That I can be as toxic as I want to be, and this man, he's a real man, he's going to stick it out because that's what my dad did. And so if there's no man in her life, this is not a negative unless, especially if she's like her mother's a widow or something. But, if her mom drove the guy out the house, this might be a problem because then this is like that I don't need a man type of mother. And so what do you think her daughter's going to be? But if it's like, if she, she's like, her mom's a widow or something like this, whatever else, the dad was, truly a loser and, it's better for him not to be there. You still have to wonder, does she know how to live in a house with a man? Her example for that is her mother. So it becomes problematic if she doesn't know. How do you keep balancing making jokes when speaking to a potential and not looking like a clown, also being mature and serious at the same time? I use cocky funny. Being on the internet, I've developed a pretty rapid and high speed, like powerful wit, where I can crack a joke, and so so I translate that into like when I'm, communicating with a woman. It's like, just cocky funny. You're funny, but at the same time, you're not a clown. I don't know. I don't know if I'm coming across clearly. You're being funny, but at the same time, there's an aloofness to it, which is the cocky part, which makes it like, yeah, I cracked this joke. You're supposed to laugh. You go ahead, you try and throw something at me, I'm gonna clown you even worse. It's sort of like I can throw jokes out here, and if you throw something at me, I'm gonna throw it back at you even harder. So then, they understand that you're not their clown, you're not a joker, but at the same time, you are funny. I don't know if that's pretty clear. Album Future Trunks, man. Hit me up on whatchamacallit. Hit me up on Twitter, man. I want you to join the men's community, bro. I want you in there if you're down. Salam. Walaikum salam. You mentioned before not to judge people based on how many divorces they had. However, shouldn't that be something to take into consideration while finding a partner? Yes, obviously. In the sense of preference. I don't think there's any shame in a woman having like, 15 divorces. If she was married halal 15 times, it's better than making zina one time. Kudos to her for avoiding the haram. But at the same time, it's like I just don't want a woman that's been ran through 15 times. You see what I'm saying? I don't want a woman that's got 15 sexual partners behind her. It's my preference. And at the same time, I have to accept that I'm a man with a lot of divorces. And some women don't want a guy who's got a lot of divorces because it's going to make her feel insecure and unsafe. Well, this guy just fires women left and right like there's nothing. If I don't flip the hamburger over fast enough, Abuamerican's going to divorce me. It's a reasonable, consideration on her part to actually say, you know what, this is actually kind of scary. So, I don't think there's a problem with it. But yeah, you need to look at it. So just in the same way that a woman looks at me as a potential, just, hey, he's going to hit it and quit it, which I'm not. But, I'm not going to tolerate, a miserable woman in my house. At the same time, there's nothing wrong with it, Islamically. There's nothing wrong with it. But people have their preferences. Hope that makes it answer your question. If a woman who's been, divorced 2-3 times, you look at her situation, you put her through the test, you check her out, see how she responds to certain, input. If she passes it properly, then cool. Because unfortunately, let's be honest, there's a lot of losers out there nowadays, man. And I'm props to you guys. If you're watching this channel, you're probably not a loser, or you are a loser looking to troll. There's one of the two cases. And since you guys are asking questions like this, you're obviously not the loser type. But and so that means you're on the path trying to build yourself, trying to look for information to build yourself. So you're not going to be one of those guys. But unfortunately, when we look at the quote unquote competition out there, man, there's a bunch of gups out there. So you can't blame sisters for not wanting to marry a lot of, some of the brothers out there. Because, you look at them, you listen to them, you talk to them, you're like, geez, bro. Because I got a daughter. I got to look at guys like, is this guy a potential husband? I'm like, ooh. You know what I mean? So you never know what the true story is, Do you see what I mean? Do you see what I mean? This is why I block people. Do you see why I block people? Do you see this? You in timeout, my niggas. Let me put this dude in timeout. You put user in timeout. You in timeout. Put you. Man, are emotional epileptic outbursts women have a monthly occurrence in specific part of her cycle, or are they completely random? They're completely random. They're completely random. Sometimes they can be connected to their monthly cycle, but generally they're random. It's just how they operate. They'll get some weird idea in their head and they'll just go crazy on it. Some women, I talked about this, like the PhD in menstruation. By the time a woman's 20 years old, she's got like a PhD level experience in having a period. She should understand how to control her emotions. It's just easier for her not to. It's the same thing like us as men in our sexuality. It's easier to not control our sexuality, but we do, right? Not unless you're furiously watching porn, all day, which some people unfortunately do. But if you control your sexuality as a man, which is more difficult than just letting it run loose, it's the same thing as a woman. She can control her emotions. It's just easier to let it run loose. The difference is society is less forgiving to men for letting loose of their emotionals and their, biological impulses or whatever else, happens to them emotionally and physically than they are to women. So women are just forgiven for being, nutcases, and then they can blame it on PMS. And men, when we behave like nutcases, well, you're a psychopath, and you're potentially a murderer and a stalker, and we're going to call the cops on you, or whatever. You know what I mean? So I don't think there's any excuse for it whatsoever. I always tell my women folk, I tell them look, hey, before you say anything crazy in whatever emotional state you may be, I don't care if you're on your time of the month or not, stop, think about it, then come back to me when you calm down and then talk about it. But usually by the time they've calmed down and they thought about it, or else it's sort of past. Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I have a friend who's 24, but his dad controls every aspect of his life. Do you think his dad is right or wrong? It's kind of hard to tell, man. That's subjective. Maybe your friend makes a bunch of bad decisions and choices, and so his dad's always involved because this guy makes constant and consistent bad choices. Is that the case? If I'm going to get involved in one of my son's lives, like that at 24 years old, it's because he's constantly making bad choices, and I want to see the best for him. But then at the same time, I don't think that's helpful. So I personally wouldn't get involved in every single angle. Sometimes someone needs to learn the consequences of their action in order to improve them. You know what I mean? But if he's just like being controlling because he doesn't know how else, then it's kind of just like it's kind of crazy because how is he preparing his son for the world if he's making all his decisions for him at 24? You know. So I mean, if the son is not out like making a bunch of bad choices and decisions, and he's like controlling, then I wouldn't say. I mean, right or wrong. That's hard to say. I mean, I'd say it's a bad choice for him to make as a father because he's not preparing his son. He's not doing him any favors by like, making all his choices and decisions for him in life. What happens when he's dead? And then he's like, what should I do? My dad would usually decide for me. What would dad do? You know what I mean? He no longer has the life experience necessary to make his own choices and decisions. It's been taken from him. And so now he has to develop them from the time that his dad has stopped deciding for him. I just think it's a bad idea. I don't know if it's right or wrong. I think it's a bad idea, in my humble opinion. Oof. Hannah, isn't marriage about living with your spouse in love and harmony? What happened to what? Man, my Arabic has gotten rusty. I need to start practicing my Arabic again. It seems sadistic to torture spouse emotion and say that she needs emotional drama. No, 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 no. You don't understand a roller coaster. I don't know if we should spend a lot of time on the roller coaster. This is why I told the guy don't joke with his wife about like multiple wives or taking another wife, because what you're talking about right here. But the simple fact of the matter is, whether you want to accept it or not, and I'm pretty sure you won't accept it, women will create drama when there is none. This is why women leave their husbands over being boring. And so you, as a man, need to control the drama instead of reacting to it. Because what a lot of guys do is they're like, "Oh, life's good," and then she comes out of the blue with that crazy Energizer Bunny energy, and then he's like, "What's going on?" And he's reacting to it. So what you do is you keep her on her back foot every once in a while. You throw her a little curveball, and you give her that up and down, that emotional excitement that she needs. Nobody's talking about being sadistic here. See, this is the problem with you sisters. You overcompensate with some crazy scenario that nobody's talking about. Nobody is talking about being sadistically, torturous emotionally to your woman. This is why I told him don't joke with his wife about having multiple wives or getting another wife. You don't do that to her. That's not what anybody's talking about. See, this is why I communicate with men on this channel as opposed to women, because y'all always take the worst case scenario and there's like no husnul done whatsoever in understanding what's trying to be said. No, give her emotional excitement and then you control that up and down so you're not reacting to it. Women, you got to admit it, Hannah, women like what? They like excitement. They like things, they like different. They like new. So why not give it to her? How many times you heard sisters, and I'm sure you've heard it more than I have. Oh, he's so boring. He's a good guy, but he's not exciting. He's not this. He's not that. Everything that he's not. Why not? Be the exciting guy that she's like unpredictable. Be unpredictable. There's no problem with that. Be exciting. Emotional roller coaster doesn't mean it's sadistic. Stop trying to translate everything that a man says into some sort of attack. This is a very feminist idea and concept that you're kicking right here, Hannah. It's like everything that a man does to a woman is malicious. It's not malicious. It's for her benefit. She likes it. I've never met a woman that doesn't. Never. Not in my life. Not one time. If you know one, I don't want to be married to her. And I wouldn't advise any of my brothers to be married to her because you know what she is? She's a miserable woman. And miserable women are horrible to be married to. How do you decide if being monogamous or polygynous is best for you? Since it's something you should discuss before marriage, and if you decide to be polygynous, you will get a lot of rejections. It's part of Islam, bro. People are rejecting you for parts of Islam. Is it difficult? Yeah, absolutely. No one's ever telling don't ever believe that polygyny is easy on a woman. It's not easy on her. So obviously there's going to be some resistance. But to reject an individual for potentially wanting to practice aspects of Islam, bro, I wouldn't mess with that. I'd be happy with a rejection. So yeah. What's your take on marriage in the West compared to Muslim lands? Islamic marriage is just better in general. You can't get divorce rate. Generally the laws, they stick closer to Sharia than anything else. And so the child custody issues, all that type of stuff. What is it called? Spousal support, all that type of stuff. It's not really a big issue with Muslims. It doesn't wreck your life. Getting a divorce doesn't ruin you. It won't literally make you homeless in Muslim lands. It won't destroy your life or your hope for the future as a man. In the West, they try to tear you to bits, and they try and break you as a man if you get a divorce. So that's the difference. Everything about Islam is better, including marriage. When courting a woman with a woman, how long should the time frame be? Should you set boundaries early, like polygyny and housewife? I mean, as early as possible, bro. I mean, you don't want to be out here just chatting up with sisters and whatnot, man. That's not the idea, man. You don't want to be out here chatting with sisters forever and whatever else. You find out some basic compatibility, get the Wally's number, and try and make that move. You know what I mean? And then, yeah, I mean, if you're bent on polygyny, if that's just you're gonna have to do it, and you really want to do it, then you want to bring that up as soon as possible. Just say, hey, I'm happy to be monogamous early on, but I'm not really sure, that's something that, I'm contemplating. I might possibly want a wife one day. I might want another wife. I don't know. As part of Islam, something I might consider. So, it's something you should know. Don't make it an absolute. Even if you have zero intention of getting another wife, if you plan on being monogamous your entire marriage, which is perfectly fine, then still, I'd leave it as a litmus test for her level of Islam and her level of Iman and her level of understanding of the religion. What is the response when Allah and His Messenger have allowed or commanded something? We hear and we obey. That's it. The Muslim's response is, I hear and I obey, even if it's difficult on us. This is the test. This dunya is a test. What did Allah say in the Quran multiple times? Did you think you would say you believe and not be tested like those before you? What did the women of the past deal with? They dealt with polygynous men. But now everybody just wants it easy. Nobody wants to go through the test. Everybody just wants cruise control life, but then they all want to act like they're super high Iman person that's going to get high stations in Islam, in the Akhirah and in the Jannah, but then they're not willing to go through the tests that's going to lead you there. They're not willing to go through the tests that's going to take you there. Sisters be walking away from the stuff that might actually make a difference for them. That she was patient with her husband. She was patient with the situation that Allah put in front of her, and she got rewarded for it. Because we know from the hadith that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if a woman dies, or what was it, the man dies and her husband's pleased with her, then she can go enter into Jannah through any gate which she pleases. There's no such equal reward for any man. No man has that reward. You can't find a hadith where Allah or His Messenger say that a man can enter in through any gate in Jannah that he pleases. No, this is for a woman who her husband dies and he's pleased with her. So maybe he's pleased with her because she accepts polygyny. But sisters be like, nah, I'm good, man. I don't need that. Nah, son. Forget all them doors. I'm good. You're just gonna walk away from the test. So even if you're gonna be monogamous, I'd use that as a litmus test. Because this shows a fundamental lack of understanding of Islam, a fundamental lack of study of the religion. So, yeah. Mrs. Abuamerican says, when you tolerate emotional epilepsy at monthly periods, it eventually becomes completely random. It's very manageable if she wants to. Yes, women can manage it, but they choose not to. It's easier not to. Wafikum Mubarak. SNA says, I've noticed sisters who come from a good family still go down the path of zina, etc. Allah Mustaan, may Allah protect us. I mean, even with a father in their life, yet the father failed unknowingly. What kind of dad should a brother look out for? It's a tough one, man. I don't even know what to say, bro. It's tough times, man. It's tough times. What I've come to find in this situation is we find that marriage has become difficult, and zina, because marriage has become difficult, has been made easy. You know what I mean? People make marriage so complicated and so difficult. Well, brother, you got to have 8 degrees from MIT and 80,000 in the bank plus 4 BMWs and 2 houses plus 1 rental. They're putting all these obstacles in the way of marriage, which were never a part of Islam, never a part of the Sunnah. and and people can't get married. Or it's like, you're not from our tribe, you're not from our culture, you're not from our race, you're not from this, you're not this, you're that, or you are that, you're black, or you're this, you're white, or you're a revert, you're not revert. And people, what happens? It becomes just so difficult to get married that people just go out and do whatever they want to do because it's easier to do that than it is to actually get married. So, I mean, that's a tough one, man. It's a big problem. People just need to start practicing Islam again, man. You just got to look out for a family that's like, they're open to Islam as opposed to like their culture or whatever else, that goofy stuff they throw in between, the Sunnah and real life. That's a tough one, man. You'd be surprised how often I hear this question, and I still don't really have a clear answer for it, unfortunately. Is it a red flag if a wife is overly agreeable? Would you let your wife challenge, disagree with your decisions? No, it's not a problem with a woman being overly agreeable. It just means she likes you a lot. That means she trusts you. If a woman's like very, very like, what's overly agreeable? What's overly agreeable? I mean, I don't even understand what that is in terms of a woman. Overly agreeable. If you're talking about doing something haram or you're doing something that's clearly a bad idea, and she's like, yeah, I'd be worried. But I'd be more worried about like, her ability to like, think properly as opposed to anything else. But if she's just like, yeah, let's do it, then that's a woman that's just 100%. You got your back. She's your cheerleader. She's on your squad. That's a good thing. But then that means you got to be on the lookout because no matter what you do, good or bad, she's backing you. And so you always got to make sure you make the right decisions, the right choices for the family, because you need a woman who's obviously going to challenge and disagree with your decisions, especially in matters of halal and haram, because sometimes you might not know something and she'll know something. And so if she knows something that you don't and you're taking action and she doesn't call you on it, that's a problem. That's a real problem, because she should put Allah and his messenger and obedience to Allah and his messenger above, pleasing your husband and being happy with him and being his cheerleader, because we want Allah and his messenger, but we want Allah to be pleased with us, by obeying his commandments that he sent down through the Quran and through the Sunnah, so yeah, I don't think being overly agreeable is a problem. Like I said, unless it comes into like bad choices and decisions and something of haram. And so in those cases, she should challenge you. She absolutely should. Allahu alam about this one. I've never seen this statement before, so I can't comment on it. I've never seen anything like that. So, I don't know. No problem, Sapphire, man. It's all good, bro. Glad to be here. That's what I'm here for. What do you think about marrying a Christian woman? Anything to keep in mind? There are stipulations and regulations in the Sunnah, rules, and limitations into marrying women, Yahud wa Nasara, the Jews and the Christians, and that she should be chaste. This has widely been translated into she should be a virgin, not having boyfriends, and a few other type of things. There's quite a few statements on this, but in general, it should be understood that she's a chaste woman who's not had boyfriends, and chaste being virgin. There are probably a few more stipulations to that, but they're pretty clear. And there's a lot of material out on that, inshallah. But you in the group, inshallah, we can find that for you. I don't see it as a problem, obviously, because it's allowed from the Sunnah, but you need to stay within the boundaries of what's allowed in terms of, what's been allowed by Allah and his messenger. I watch Kevin Samuels and and a common theme of women saying that they left their man for being boring and too kind. Absolutely. Can you give an example of how not to be boring? How do you keep this up for years? How to not be boring? Oh, man, that's so. I don't know how do you not be boring? I don't know. I'm just not boring. Yeah, ask my wife. She's in. Well, don't ask her, but I'm just saying. My wife, she'll tell you I'm not boring. I crack jokes, whatever else. I'm not a clown, but I'm funny. I remain unpredictable at times. I do stuff that she doesn't expect. You know, I, I I've said this before. People actually got mad when I said it. I treat my wife like I haven't had sex with her yet. Like she's a woman that, like, ooh, this is a new girl and I'm trying to have sex with her. I treat her like that, and I don't get boring because, it's how I treat her all the time. So, yeah. And how do you keep this up for years? You just got to, bro. That's the struggle. That's the struggle of man, because at the end of the day, if anything goes wrong, guess whose fault it's going to be? She's going to go cheat. And then if you catch her, and you say, I'm not saying she's gonna go cheat. I'm just saying if she goes cheats and you catch her, she's like, well, you were boring and you were emotionally unavailable. It's always gonna be your fault. So you got to do the work, man. It's like Rich Cooper said, do the work, man. The burden of performance is yours. You're never gonna be released of it, you know. And she could be the absolute bad guy. And guess what society's gonna do? They're gonna try and screw you, and they're gonna blame you. Sharia defense and enforcement says, do not do monogamy if you are able to do polygyny. Preferring monogamy while being able to do polygyny was made mainstream by the pagan Roman Empire to reduce inheritors. Interesting. I didn't know this. Up a few chunks, in my opinion, it is harder to be boring than not to be, unless you're naturally a boring person. Keeping a masculine frame and enforcing boundaries here and there spice things up for. Yeah, you know what a lot of guys do is they fall into routine. They go to work, they come home, they play PS5 or they watch football or whatever, and they fall into this routine of just being boring. I mean, and it's really easy to do because guys generally, what do? We make systems and we fall into systems. We do schedules and whatnot, and so it's easy to fall into those. But if you got a stay-at-home wife, her routine is boring, and then you come home and you fall into a routine. All she's seeing is her basic routine going into your basic routine, and it's just like, geez, man, kill me. Imagine eating spaghetti every day. That's what you're doing to her life. I'm sure it's possible, man. How short should the talking stage with the sister before moving forward and uniting the families for a meeting? As short as possible. I mean, in general, you shouldn't be, talking and chatting to sisters alone and whatnot. This type of stuff you really shouldn't be doing anyway. So it should be as minimal as possible. You know, Shoot, if I meet a sister and it's like everything's cool, I'm like, let's talk to your dad today. I'll talk to him tomorrow. Give me his phone number. I'll talk to him right now. I mean, for me, I don't see a need or a reason to play around. You want to get to know a woman, marry her. That's the only way you're really going to get to know anybody anyway is by marrying them. So, for me, but the problem is, and I'm going to blame the sisters for this one. Sisters love that whole Cinderella complex story stuff. They want to fall in love with a guy and then have some big story and, he was so romantic, whatever else. Just some Western Cinderella Disney story. And it's not our story as Muslims. It's not our fairy tale. Our fairy tale starts after marriage. And so, most of the times, if you approach sister, it's like, hey, you talk to her, this, that, the other. It's like, let me talk to your daddy. Say that in the same day. You say that in the same week you meet her, and she's gonna just cut you off. She's like, oh, what? This guy was talking like that already? Are you crazy? She's gonna block you or whatever else, and just stop talking to you. I blame the sisters for this. So that's part of my statement that I said on Twitter, where a lot of sisters just aren't prepared for marriage as much as brothers are nowadays. Before it used to be the other way around. Guys weren't, trying to get married and women were trying to get married. Now it's the other way around. So, because there's so much attention on social media, they're courting so much attention everywhere that being serious about one guy is very difficult for them. Look at how they shop. I've said this before. I've said this in multiple live shows. Go shopping with a woman and watch how indecisive they are. Now, multiply that by 100 with all the guys in their inbox. And then you come along talking about, one of like 900 guys, talk about, yeah, let me talk to your dad. She's going to be like, ugh. No, I'm just going to talk to guy number 889, So, yeah, I'd say as soon as possible. One second. Let me get this brother here. Marco McDonald with $3 super chat. Thank you, man. Barakallahu Feek. He said, brothers make dua for my wife. She's pregnant. MashaAllah. May Allah grant you a healthy child, boy, girl, doesn't matter. I mean, Jazakallah khair for the super chat, bro. Find out where I was in the last one. If a woman got the opportunity to do zina, then you should doubt whether her family is good or not. Yeah, this is a fact, yeah. Hanad. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What red flags should I look for when finding a wife? How can one differentiate between a good girl and one for the streets? I'm confused because Hanad is a girl's name, but you're looking for a wife. Okay, I put out an entire betting guide on this. This is a topic that could fill up like an entire like 2 hour show. I don't really show my products. I'd say go pick up my betting guide, and you will have quite a bit of detail in there. And when part two comes out, you have free access to it. I'd pick up the betting guide. There's a lot of information to look for in the 21st century. I mean, just 10 years ago, you could probably cut out half of my betting guide, maybe 15 years ago. So, times are changing and the problems are increasing with time. But I wrote an entire betting guide over this. So I would check it out. Why don't you put your ETH address in the description so we can send you some crypto donations and bypass YouTube cuts? Yeah, I can do that. I can put my ETH address in there. I can do that. Sure. I'll do that. Sure. Good idea. Well, thank you. I'll do that. Let me see. No, are you drinking milk? No, I'm drinking tea. It's tea with milk, though. It's like I'm half British, man. So I'm drinking tea with milk. Just I'm drinking it out of a jar. That's the American side. I had to do this because this is the American side. Once a man establishes himself with the correct foundation, how will he know the many sisters he's talking to is wanting to be with him for his image, car, career, prince, whatever else? I mean, generally, I talked about this before. I've made a few videos about it. They're quite old now. These are the type of stuff that you don't want to be, discussing with a woman anyway. Your finances. I mean, I wouldn't. I don't like to when women ask me what I do, I'll tell them something crazy. I tell them I'm a gangster. Tell them I'm a kidnapper. I'm just looking for my next victim. I'll make a joke or whatever else, being funny. But I don't like to talk about my career or whatever else, my job with women. It's like, what do you want to know for? What are you looking for? Are you looking for a husband? Or are you looking for like a particular lifestyle? And if I'm getting a bad vibe from the sister off the bat, I'll just ask her that too. I'll be like, I don't know. What are you looking for? You looking for a lifestyle? You looking for a husband? What do you want? And I'll tell you if I can give you what you're looking for. So for me, I that's what I do. I don't like answering those questions or whatever else, and so it automatically like just filters out those women that are like looking for a particular status. It's not that I'm unwilling to provide status. I mean, that's not a problem, but it's like if that's where we're starting off at, dude, get lost. That's what I'm saying to these sisters. Salams, what do you have to? Don't have time to stay, but I will watch back later. What do you think of the red pill community and manosphere as a whole? Sorry if it's too vague. I mean, there's some members of the red pill community I get along with. Some of the guys I like in there, but in general, I find the red pill community to be like quite cancerous these days. I mean, it was good when I was early in studying and like learning a lot of stuff, and because of that, I was just looking at material in specific as opposed to actually talking to individuals. And that kind of like ruined it for me. When you're reading red pill material, it's really good because really red pill material is what? It's just basic. It's basic human psychology. Really, that's all it is. It's human psychology, and so it's not that bad. Anything that's in there that's like goofy, you can just be like, yeah, that's goofy, and you can just rule it out and just keep on going. You can Islamically cancel it. But when you start dealing with the individuals, then it becomes problematic. And some of the individuals are really good people. They're really cool people. They're nice guys, like Rollo Tomasi. I have a very good relationship with Rollo Tomasi. I like the guy. We talk, chat, whatever else. Great guy. But there's other guys that Rollo talks to that I don't like. And I just couldn't imagine actually having a conversation with them. Not a civil one, at least. So I mean, but unfortunately, I find that more of that community tends to be the guys that I can't have a civil conversation with, as opposed to guys that I can have a civil conversation with. Like Rich Cooper, he's a cool dude. You can have a civil conversation with him. He's very, very outspoken. I like it. He doesn't cut corners. He doesn't hold punches. I really like that in a personality and a character. I like that because he's not passive aggressive. He's not like a trolling wanker like half of Muslim Twitter is. Muslim Twitter could learn a lot from Rich Cooper in terms of masculinity, because you got these dudes who's basically their sacks haven't dropped and all they do is spend all day Muslim Twitter spend all day just trolling. And Rich Cooper just called it how it is. Like, hey man, I think that's a bunch of BS, and that's why I think it is. You can't find me a Muslim that'll actually do that. It's so rare. And those that will actually do it, they're like in my men's community. Those are my homies. So yeah. The red pill community is a mess, man. I don't really like it that much. That's why I don't ascribe to red pill anymore, because a lot of them guys, man, they got a lot of problems, man, in my humble estimation. You guys running around with trauma, teaching other guys stuff. Use you mentioned to memorize the talking stage, but how do I figure out if she's crazy or not? Well, I mean, my vetting guide is there, and I talk about no, I don't talk about tests in there. That's part 2. Actually, I apologize. Yeah, I need to get that published, but I'm just so busy. There are some tests you can take a woman through, and you can put her through in order to check the crazy, and you should do those very early on. I talk about it a little bit in my vetting guide, but not in detail, because I wanted to put that in part 2. Dude, yeah, I mean, this is a legit question. There's a lot of tests, that you can do, but they don't have to be like spread apart like over weeks or months or anything like this. These are tests you can run like back to back, because the tests start off higher in severity and then they go down over time. And basically those high severity tests that you pull off very early, it tells you whether or not you need to cancel her early on or not. So I mean, you start off strong with the test as opposed to starting off and going up. Unless it's a really, really, really soft woman and you can see like, okay, you're probably not gonna have a lot of problems with this woman in the first place. Then you can gradually take the test upward. But if you she just seems like she got that vibe about her, you could hit her one of them hard tests early on and see how she reacts. But I haven't really gone into detail into this type of stuff because it's quite premium. It's premium content. What? So to answer a question, you're gonna have to wait for vetting guide part 2, actually. This is very true. Viking Paradigm. He says the game only gets harder in a long-term relationship. These are facts. Make sure you switch things up, even small ways. When women say it's the little things, that's part of what they mean. He's absolutely correct. Everybody likes to talk about game in the manosphere. The lay count, how many women they slept with. It's very easy to get a woman to sleep with you. Believe it or not, it's very easy to get a woman to sleep with you. To consistently stay in a long-term relationship with her and have her loyal to you, not want to sleep around with other guys, whatever else, and want to stay in a relationship with you, it's a little bit more complicated. It's not so simple. I know a lot of guys who are good with getting women, but they're not good at keeping them. And you'd be surprised. Some of these guys, they bought other guys' guides online on how to be successful with women. They've seen successful women, and then they paid for one-to-one consultations with me in order to learn how to keep the women. Because my thing is like, get married, stay married. That's my entire thing. Because I don't want anybody going through the crap I went through. Don't go through that, man. You want to see crazy, dude? I can tell you about some exes. Holy smokes. What should the man do if she's a control freak? You got a lot of problems. The control freak women. It's like, how did you miss the red flags early on? Is my question. It's like that, either she was a control freak at the beginning of the relationship, or she became one. If she became one, then that means you got something of a excuse me, and I'm not trying to insult you, bro, but it seems you got like a feminine frame, and so she gained a masculine one. Generally, what happens is if a guy's in a solid masculine frame, his woman becomes feminine, or she was always in like a masculine frame, and then it's just like, you ended up like butting heads, and you back down, which is a feminine frame. So no matter what, there's a problem with your frame, because I married a girl. She was a control freak. She's a London girl. She really just psycho girl. You see, the memory is just like. So what happened was we ended up in combat all the time. It's just like, it's disgusting. It is. It's disgusting. She was like, she's like, oh, I just think you were never attracted to me. I'm like, yeah, you act like a guy. It's like, I don't want to screw a guy, because we didn't get down a lot. So I was just like, yeah, it was like, she was an attractive woman. She was a very attractive woman, but she was in a very masculine frame, and I found that unattractive. It was very masculine. I was like, I want to marry a woman. And so we ended up combating all the time because we had two masculine frames in combat all the time. And when it came down to her and her decisions and choices, I was like, look, I don't care what you do. I'm doing this. I'm Abuamerican. So, and I did what I wanted to do. And so she gave up control freak and she just turned into straight crazy freak, So really you shouldn't be having these frame battles. It's like basically you're gonna do what you're gonna do as a man. And if she's being a control freak and you're submitting to it, then listen to what I just said. And if she's becoming a control freak and you are submitting to that, do you see the problem right there? You're submitting. You're the kitten in the relationship. It's a bad problem, bro. It's a bad problem. So what's the what should men do? Cowboy up. You got cowboy up. He said, "Nah, this brother's named Hanad also." I mean, okay. I know every single girl I met from Sudan was named Hanad. I guess it's just the general name they use. So sorry, man. It's not. I don't mean. I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't know. I didn't know. But all the girls I've met from Sudan, they've all called themselves Hanad. I guess it's just some like it's like when the East African girls call themselves Mimi. I guess I don't know, but somehow they were all named Hanad. So it's just like you know. My bad. Sorry, bro. Where did my comments go? Bro, I wrote the vetting guide for that. You gotta check that out, bro. That's a whole book. If a woman says that she will be a second wife of only a wealthy man, is that a red flag? Yeah, it's kind of like it's only a wealthy man. What's she offering? Go think like Kevin Samuels. Okay, you're only going to be a second wife to a wealthy man. What do you give? What value do you bring to the life of a wealthy man? Think like that. When you look at her and think, is she a wealthy man's wife? Look at her and just be like, 9 times out of 10, you know what?
She'll climb up.
You basic girl. You basic. All these bents are basic. If she's going to be a second wife to a rich man, why isn't she a second wife to a rich man? Rich men, when they want something, you know what they do? They get it. So obviously, she's so low value and low quality that rich men ain't looking for her. What is a rich guy supposed to just walk across the street and bump into her, something like that? Run her over with the Bentley, like, oh my gosh, let me take her to the hospital and then marry her. What? I mean, why is she not married to a rich guy? Rich guys don't play. Rich guys don't wait. If they want something, you know what they do? They get it because they can afford to do whatever they want to do right now, even if it's not reasonable, because they're rich. I'll only be the second wife to a rich guy. Well, okay, where's the rich guy? Why are you waiting so long? It's crazy thing to hear, especially for a woman that's like 27. So really 27? You just Kermit the Frog my tea here. Meanwhile, rich guy off in Tahiti or the Caribbean with his 18-year-old, taking Instagram photos or whatever else. I mean, okay, the Muslims won't be doing that, but he's doing his halal version of that, inshallah. It's crazy talk, bro. It's that whole Cinderella complex stuff I talked about from these women in the West, man. They're nuts. But if I have a question regarding certain content in your vetting guide, do I ask in the email you provide in the description or in the live stream? I don't really go into too much detail to my vetting guide, bro. That's why it has That's why it has a price on it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's like, bro, you're asking me for my pain for free, okay? I went through a hell of trouble with a bunch of women to write that guide. I'm sorry, you can't have that for free. If you have any specific questions, but something that's not asking me too much content, I'll answer it, man. I try and help people out here, but what happens is I end up just blocking a bunch of people for being dorks. So, as long as you're cool and you don't be a dork, man, I'll help you out as much as I can, man. I'm not sure what this is.
What is it? If I have questions regarding certain content on your vetting guide, he wants
no.
Email them.
Yeah, just drop me an email. No, it's not. But there is a contingent within the red pill zone that are like white nationalist schizophrenics. You'll find red pill. You'll find the black corner. Like there's the black manosphere. Did you know that exists? I was like slightly crossed over into the black manosphere at one point. And I just avoided the heck out of that. I mean, so there's like the black manosphere. I'm sure there's the white manosphere. There's this, there's that. There's all sorts of corners within the manosphere. Where guys want to be with their guys. And so yeah. How do you feel about a sister lying about their past just for them to get what they want, which is marriage that began with lies? When the brother is far more pure and honest than her. Yeah, but how do you find out? I mean, if you find out, man, that's the problem. It's deception. So you deal with it accordingly. You know what I'm saying? If it's not a deception that you can deal with, then I mean, I guess something that has to end. You know, I mean, the relationship. I see no problem with the individual, and this goes into the whole like, there's no blame and there's no problem with like divorce. Maybe there's something that you're not pleased with in terms of like her past that you come to find out later on after being married, and you can't get over that. Why should you stay married? And why should you be ashamed for leaving that relationship? She lied to you. She deceived you. You know, and now it makes you look at her in a way that is unpleasing. So how do you stay happily married, and how do you treat her with justice and adl, like you're supposed to, within the bounds and the rules of the book and the sunnah? How do you stay married like that? And she lied to you, and you're looking at her every day. It's like, wow, yeah, it's like that bad taste left in your mouth, but it's worse because now you're working and you're paying and you're taking care of her and all this stuff, and it just festers in your heart. You're gonna do this every day, and you just think, man, this chick really lied to me like that, man. You know what I'm saying? What else is she lying about? Is that a marriage? What kind of marriage is that, man? You know. So how I feel about it? Don't lie. Don't lie. Be honest. She should be honest. You should be honest. And go from there. Because you don't want to do that to a sister. Definitely don't want a sister doing that to you, right? It is not coming out soon, unfortunately. I have so much on my plate. It's probably going to be. I don't even know if it'll come out this year. I'll try, guys. I'm working hard on a bunch of stuff, and it's really I'm overwhelmed right now. We need to vet gurus much like vetting women. It's true. It's true. It's absolutely true. But you know what? One thing, and I only speak for self. When I always speak for myself because I'm not going to sit here and point fingers at other guys. That's why I'm honest about my marriage past, whatever else. Some guys are like, hey, you're not qualified to talk about marriage because you've been married, and divorced 12 times. Well, I'm like, yeah, well, okay. If I banged like 400 women, you'd listen to me about women, right? Because I'd be quote unquote an expert. Let me tell you something. I'm an expert on marriage. I can tell you, I've seen it all. In that short time, I've seen it all. So I'm honest about my stuff. People don't want to like listen to me because of that. Don't listen to me. I'm fine. I'm gonna keep talking into the void here. So definitely need to vet these guys. A lot of guys are out here lying like, what's his name? I ain't got nothing against the guy, but the guy Rivellino, I think is his name. The guy's got like thousands upon thousands of followers. He's been like with like 4 women in the past 10 years or something. And he's a relationship expert. What? I don't hate the guy. But it just seems a bit odd that he's giving relationship advice and he's been with like 4 women in the past 10 years or something like that. Dude, it's like sometimes back in the past, recently, that was my streak in like 6 months. What are you talking about? And you know how hard it is to get married as a Muslim? Dudes out here they're grifting, man. They're making money. That's what it is. It's a good market and people make money, and they're pushing for it. I mean, I make money, but how often do I push my products? It's like maybe once a week in a show when people start asking me about stuff that I've already covered in a book that I've written. So, I mean, I look at my Twitter. I forget to freaking market because the money's not important to me, man. I mean, no, that's not true. I'm lying. See, I'm lying there. See, I'm lying there. I'm being honest. I'm lying. Money's important to me, but it's not like, buy, and I'm shilling my products all day. You know what I'm saying? And that's what some guys found. They found a very good market of guys who are looking for help and answers. And they've taken together a bunch of like, what do you call it, platitudes and whatever else, and information from here and information from there, and they've thrown it together in some guide, and they have zero experience themselves with whatever they're talking about. I talk about what I have experience with. I don't talk about what other people don't have experience with. Again, not insulting the guy, but I really don't think like guys like Rivellino should be talking. And I know someone's going to post this to him, and I'm not insulting the guy. I like him, but if he's had like something like 4 relationships in 10 years, what is he talking about women for? What are you talking about? There's a lot of guys out there. I'm just using him as an example because this is something that I heard and I found out, and it turned out to be that, yeah, that's the fact. So it's like, it's pretty bad. You got a lot of guys out there like that. He's just the most ready, available example I can pull out on the head. I'm not picking on the guy. If a woman is easy to sleep with, does that mean they are not wife material? Well, from an Islamic standpoint, yes. But from a general standpoint, no. I know that sounds crazy. Islamically, in order to sleep with a woman, you need to be married to her. So, if a woman is easy to sleep with and she's a Muslim, that's a problem if you're not easily getting married. But just because a woman wants to sleep with you early on and quickly doesn't mean that she's not wife material. You know, it's just what does she have to actually secure a man? If she thinks a guy is high value, let's be honest here. When it comes down to women and game, what tools does a woman have to actually gain the affection and the attention of a man? They're not overly funny. They're not overly clever in terms of like conversation. She's gonna talk to you about the differences between like, natural aspiration and forced induction engines. Is she really gonna like have that conversation with you? She's gonna talk to you about drones and what's the greatest FPV drone out right now. What conversations do women have with men that are interesting? Not much. So what she has to actually hook a man is her sexuality. And she might just actually be into that guy, and because she lacks the necessary tools, because there is no such thing as girl game, and girls don't really learn game, she goes to the one toolbox that she has. Give him some hoo-ha. That'll hook him. Does it work sometimes? Does it work? Not sometimes. In this day and age, probably less so. But Islamically, there's no problem with a woman that wants to sleep with you early on, but she needs to get married to you early on. So it's like, if she wants to get married tomorrow and then you consummate the marriage the next day or the same day that you get married, fine. It's not a problem. For non-Muslims, I know it's slightly different. I've seen guys, they've gone out on a date, they slept on the first day and they were together for like, since forever. They've been together ever since. Sometimes it works like that, sometimes it doesn't. So I don't think that's a surefire sign, but it's definitely like something to wonder about and worry about. It's just like if a woman's just throwing her sexuality around very loosely, then yeah, for sure. It definitely is like it's something to consider and look at. I'm talking from my non-Muslim days. This is always something I would think like, when I was non-Muslim, I was like, okay, that, was it me or was it, because I even knew back in the days, like I saw women, speaking from my non-Muslim days, back when I was non-Muslim, there were women, it's like they would give everybody hell. Dudes would try and chat these girls up and they'd give them absolute hell. And I come along one day, I'm like, yo, what's up? Yo, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, she's like crawling over and like, yo, what's going on? So because I was expecting to catch hell too. I just came from a different approach, but it turns out she was actually interested in me. So, is it a bad sign? No, she shot down everybody who came before me. You have to look at the individuals. From a non-Muslim perspective, I've been out of that scene so long, I can't tell you what's going on. But from a Muslim perspective, I don't see it as a problem, but you have to be married. And so if she's down to like, go to her dad that day or the next day or whatever else, man, go with it, bro. Sorry. What do you think about Muslims not marrying and not having children because of financial and mental costs? Also considering divorce rates. I'd say they're in opposition to the Sunnah. The Sunnah is to get married and have children. That is what we know is from the Sunnah. It's what we've been told to do. So these are people who oppose the Sunnah. It's really that simple. And in considering divorce rates, you're going to look at everybody else's failure and then just automatically take it on as yours. Well, they failed. Let me not try. What? What? Is that how they go through life? Just, those people over there failed, so I'm not going to try either. Well, then they're losers, because me, generally, part of the reason why I've had so many divorces, I'm not trying to make light of it. It's just like, I can make this work. And I went into it. It turns out I can't, sometimes, other times I have. But it's just a loser mentality also, but first it's in opposition to the Sunnah. The Sunnah is to get married and have children. And then next is just a loser mentality. All those people are getting divorced, so I'm going to end up divorced too. All right, loser. That's how I see it. Absolutely. If a woman controls a man, in my humble opinion, it's his fault. How she can control the uncontrollable? What's she going to do? It's a fact. It's absolutely right. We came from like ancestors who were running around on the plains of like weird countries, with big tigers and stuff, and they dominated. Do you think he came home and, his wife was in the cave or in the hut talking about, you got to take the trash out or whatever they did back then? This guy just killed a lion. He drug a lion in, he's wearing a bear cape that he killed with his bare hands or a stone knife. Do you think she was like, yeah, You need to rethatch the roof tomorrow, Gorg. What? I don't know what they were named back then. I'm just saying. It's like, what? What are you talking about? Those are your ancestors, dude. You better act like it. You shaming your ancestors. You want me to what, woman? If you don't sit down and drink a cup of tea or whatever the hell you need to do, you better go put a bath bomb in the bathtub. I don't know what the heck's wrong with you, woman. You better get it under control. Go kill me a saber-toothed tiger and bring it back up in here and show you what's up, girl. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, man. I don't know how that's even possible. Not related, not relationship related, but what are your thoughts on pump and dump group chats? My friends and I got into a group with a high success rate making profit. Man, make that money, bro. That's what I think of it. Get that money. What, you ain't invite me? Apple Future Trunks? That's what I think. Manegas.
You got too many courses, baby.
You pump and dumping and you ain't inviting your homie for the money making gangbang? Allah Mustaan. I said the money making gangbang. I see how you do me, bro. Should I learn Islam first? Focus on my career. Learn Islam first. I mean, you're gonna have to work anyway, bro. I know this is not an either or. You can do both. You're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to do that as an adult. So work, learn your career, and you have to study Islam because you're gonna die and you're gonna face Allah. So you don't really have an option. You got to live in a life right now, but you're gonna live like you're gonna die. So, and in order to die, well, not in order to die, but because you're going to die, you need to meet Allah with the proper practice of Islam, and you're not going to get the proper practice of Islam without knowledge. So do both. How do I deal with a shy wife? She feels embarrassed to do anything. Like, push her. I don't understand. It's kind of a vague question. Like, she feels embarrassed to do anything.
What kind of anything?
Yeah, exactly. What are we talking about here? Like, she won't go out the door. Like, put her on your job. Let's go outside. No.
Yeah.
Grab her, drag her out, bro. No, I'm just playing. I don't know what you mean. She's embarrassed to do anything. Like, have fun? I don't know. Sure, it's okay to actually have fun or do whatever, just sure it's okay. That there's no consequence to, like, actually enjoying yourself or doing something enjoyable or whatever else, It's just going to have to go slow and steady process. Shyness is for me, man. And so it's not something we speak badly about, because, Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, he said, shyness is from faith. So treat her accordingly, man. But then just actually show her that, there's no consequence to actually going out and doing stuff and enjoying yourself. So, yeah. So getting rich is a priority if you want a good romantic life. Is it really going to make that much of a difference? Should it be the priority? No, obviously not. You can be happy and have a good romantic life without a bunch of money. I mean, if that wasn't true, then why did Aisha radiallahu anhu love the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him? When the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, died, he died with 1 dirham to his name. Now Muslims, they want to die with half of, not a half Bitcoin. They want to die with all the Bitcoins, So it's just the priorities have changed so much for the Muslims nowadays. The Sahaba were the best of mankind. They were broke, but they cared for the people. And now you got brothers that can care for the people, but sisters like, he doesn't drive an AMG. He doesn't drive this. He doesn't live in something apartment. He doesn't blah, blah, blah. It's just such a mess, man.
In a few years, sister will require, do you have NFT?
Exactly. This is like she said, next to the sisters, my mother, I want that $2 million NFT.
Good thing they don't know anything now.
I know, right? So, no, I don't think it's necessary, but you find that a lot of people are making it a necessity. He said, "What's up with these lame questions? You guys gotta step up the game." Yusuf calling y'all out. Inshallah. The Honest Tea Talk podcast recently made a video talking about polygyny. Are you going to react? What's that? The Honest Tea Talk podcast? What's this? Sounds like a woman show. This must be a woman show. The Honest Tea Talk. Hey, if there's a bunch of dudes talking about the Honest Tea Talk, you got my reaction right here. There's something wrong with them dudes, man. Yeah, Google it. If that's some dudes. Allahu Akbar.
Hi, how can I?
No, you can't help me, Google. Shut up. The Honest Tea Talk, dude. This better be women. The Honest Tea Talk. You know what you do? Is it women? You better tell me there's women.
It's women.
Whew. Man, some brothers had a show named The Honest Tea Talk. Boy, I'd fly to wherever they were, and I'd just like,
Give me season 3. Yeah.
I'd shave their beards off. I'd be like, look, we gonna put a ponytail and a hijab on you guys. You know,
doing toxic relationships.
I'll watch it. I don't know if I'll do a reaction to it. I don't know. Because see, the thing is like this: when you react to videos like that, they probably got like how many followers they got? How many viewers?
Subscribers, 89.6K.
So 89,600 followers. You make a reaction video, and all them busted sisters gonna come over to this channel and be in the comment section talking some busted sister talk. And y'all already mad at me because I'm just like, them sisters come over with that busted talk, you know, that lame crooked hijab talk. And I'm just like, you know, and I kick them to the curb and like, why are you talking to the sisters like that? Never talking about why is that lame old crooked hijab out the side of her mouth talking sister came to my channel in the first place. I don't go starting smoke. So, you know, I don't be starting no smoke. So, you know, I don't want no smoke up over here. They still be coming over here. And I still don't go over here looking for them people. So will I do a reaction video? You know what? I think I'll do a reaction video for my paid private channel members. That's what I can do. I can do that. Because they ain't no lames.
They said here, one wife, one love. I'm talking about complete financially character for man. It's not everybody have ability to deal with multiple women, physically, mentally, financially.
So there you have it. I'll do a reaction video, but it'll only be for channel members because I don't want them raggedy sisters to be watching that crazy stuff coming up over here with that raggedy talk, man. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it, man. I'm already curt with people, and Ramadan's coming, and then, you know, I'll be like just firing from the hip during Ramadan. It ain't gonna be a good look, so I need to protect myself, inshallah. Is that deal? Inshallah.
I'm looking for if there anyone mentioned you in the comment.
A Muslim girl wants to have a baby with me, but I'm not Muslim. Thought about it, but I don't want a kid right now. Also, isn't that against the religion? Absolutely. It's not permissible for her to be in a relationship with a non-Muslim guy of any sort, you know, especially a sexual one. So the solution is become Muslim, marry her, and then have some kids. That's the only thing I can tell you. No, don't do that. Just no, it's not permissible for her to do that, you know. And it can get her in a lot of trouble with her family and her community. You know, if you got a heart, stay away from her, you know, because it can end bad for her, you know. Okay, so you're saying starting a marriage with a lie is bad. Yes, I am saying that. I agree. But I've come across scholars and wannabe YouTube scholars like Dawa Man agreeing to the idea that sisters having to lie to get married. That tells you everything you need to know about that guy right there. Dudes will say anything for the women's. They'll say anything. Now, does he feel it's okay for a guy to lie to a woman to get married? Has he said this? Probably not. So, walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Red sings the blues. MashaAllah. What's up, man? Man, I'm sorry I missed you. I missed you last week, bro. I've been so busy. It's been insane. I didn't get a chance to respond to you. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Red Sings the Blues. I've been trying to get on another show with Red Sings the Blues for a minute, man. He and I did a show, and I want to get another show with him. But I'm just so ridiculously busy right now that I really don't have time for the shows.
I'm sorry. I think most of your time.
Ooh, there's a lot of questions here. Let me think. Where was I? Here I was. Okay. Allahu Alam, bro. He said if the man has hereditary health issues, would it still be encouraged to procreate? Allahu Alam, man. This is something for scholars, bro. You got to ask the scholars about that. I actually think I've read something about it, but to the point I can't remember. I don't know why that happens. That just my thing drops, my internet drops. So if your girl had a train ran through on her and she made you believe she's innocent and told you later out of the comfort that she got being with you, would you be chill with that? Heck no, bro. You don't want a woman had a train ran on her. Come on, man.
What?
It's just gross. This is disgusting. When she had sex with like 3 guys at once or 2 guys at once. No. You fired. You remember them little roly-polies on a Bug's Life? You fired. Yeah, that's it. No, you fired. Yeah, she's gone. Yeah. Let me see. Just going down through these questions here. Is it be controlled if the guy is giving nearly all his wages to her every week just to keep her from nagging him and complaining? Yes. What? Dude's got issues out there, man. Is this a real question? I mean, I hope this is hypothetical, man. What? Yeah, basically, you're a slave. You're working for free. Yeah, how is that not controlling? You're a slave. You have no wages because you're giving them to somebody else. You're working and giving away the money that you get for it. How is that not slavery? Yeah, that's being controlled. Yeah.
Where's my what? Wage?
Where's your wages? You see them lights?
What happened with the lights?
They're on. I paid for it.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, that sofa. Excuse me. That sofa that you're so comfortably chilling on?
So if I turn it off, I get $1.
No, because you're sitting on the sofa.
Yeah.
Who paid for that?
I can't sit on the floor.
You can sit on the floor. I pay the rent.
I sit outside.
Okay, fine. No, you don't get paid for sitting outside. You're outside. You got to ask the government for that. That's their property. It's not mine.
Good woman. What now?
Yes. So. Let's see. Hold on. Sorry. Let's see. Let me see. I'm just going through the questions here, guys. Give me a second. I didn't even get to the topic of what I want to talk about today.
Yeah, you deserve what you deserve. What?
You get what you deserve. Yusuf coming with that fire today. He said, "Honesty talking is just a show and it sucks." Yeah, some of the comments that my wife read there, I came to the same conclusion. Man, there's so many comments here. Can't keep up. What is your approach for dating, getting into a relationship with non-Muslims? At what stage do you invite them to Islam? I mean, if that's something you're going to do, I'd do it early as possible. If that's something you're going to do, you say, hey, I'm a Muslim, and I've got like standards, expectations, blah, 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 blah. That's what I would do. I don't know. I mean, you're going to go that route. Yeah. I don't really have an answer for that one. What do you think about marrying an 18 or 19 for a man, considering not having much money, etc.? And it's easier to have a girlfriend than a wife. Well, this goes back to what I was saying earlier in the show. It's easier to do haram than it is halal. 18 or 19, get a job, work, and if you can afford a wife, get a wife. If you need help from the family, get help. I made a whole show about this. I was talking on, I think it was the 3 Muslims. We were talking about this. Yeah, back on the sofa. Yeah, there you go. I was talking on three Muslims about this. That my son, if he wants to get married, he's like 18. I'll help him. If that's my ability. If he needs help with rent, whatever else, tell me he has to get a job. But if he needs help like covering the bills so he can be married in order to stay out of haram, then I'll help him. Why not? What am I doing as a parent otherwise? I'm not going to carry him. I'm not going to become his crutch. But I'm definitely going to help him out. So that he can avoid the haram. So I don't see why a parent wouldn't do that. I find that vexing. But you find a lot of parents from a lot of communities, they're like, oh, go to university, this, that, the other. I'm like, yeah, my son can go to university, you can be married too. Do it, man. You're just gonna have to learn the responsibility and like have an extra hard work ethic, and it's gonna have to be, consistent. So for me, I don't see a problem with it. And if he needs support, then he should be supported by his family. We're talking about Islam here. We're not talking about just my kid's 18, kick him out and good luck in the world. It's not how we operate as Muslims. You know. Our man carries feminism a lot in many videos. There's one video where he gifts one of his female viewers a Louis Vuitton bag. Wow. Well, maybe I can get more female viewers if I start giving out Louis Vuitton bags. Louis Vuitton. What's that? Said Dower Man gave out a Louis Vuitton bag on the show. Oh man, I didn't see this, man. Where'd this go from? See, I didn't see this. I apologize. Muzamil Muhammad, Barakallahu Feek, man. $1 super chat. You the man. Yeah, I was buffering earlier. Yeah, Sharia Defense Force, you dropping it there. Okay, I guess we're kind of done with the questions here. There's more on there. Advice on overcoming a divorce at 23. Man, that's tough, man. First off, sorry it happened to you, bro. Just keep pushing, bro. That's all it is, man. Life ain't over, bro. I've been married and divorced like 12 times, bro.
And you know what? On the women's side, they don't care about him.
Yeah.
So he shouldn't.
Dude, continue building yourself, building quality for yourself. When you say overcoming the divorce, I suppose it means like you're talking emotionally. You probably love the woman and whatnot, and so it's like emotionally, or you just got to keep pushing, man. Don't try and, heal the wounds of one woman with, by bedding another one. But, just your mission is your mission. It should be there irrespective of a woman. And so you revert back to your mission. If you're Muslim, then, it's worshiping Allah, studying the religion so you can worship Allah better. Then going into your career, so you fall back, it's like they say in the military, fall back on your training, so it's the same thing. You fall back to your mission, you should never be off of it, but I'm just using this as terminology. You always got a go-to point that is internal. This is what they talk about in the red pill world with center point of origin. You are your center point of origin, not her, so there shouldn't really be a recovery. Will it hurt? Absolutely. There's not a woman I've been married to, no matter how fricked up she is, that I didn't care for in some way or another. And some way or another, it always felt bad to actually let that girl go. I was married to a relatively crazy woman in London, and it didn't feel good letting her go. It didn't. I liked her. I learned to like her for her crazy. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm like, okay, this girl's gonna come with some crazy, and I know it. And I don't know what it is, but when it comes, it's gonna be crazy. And she comes with some crazy, and I start laughing because I'm like, there it is. Look at that. It's so predictable. And she'd be like, this dude's nuts. He's laughing at me, and she'd be dead serious, not crazy. But just because, so that became lovable, So I actually turned my ability, her crazy, into a way and a possibility to love her. But it wasn't good enough because she's crazy. And so, the more you actually responded to her in a good way, the worse she got. Some people, they just get worse. They don't get better. It's like rewarding bad behavior. So, there's some people that just can't be saved. But I always had my mission. I always had my goals. I always had my stuff to fall back on. So, yeah, bro, you're gonna get divorced. It's gonna hurt. You're not gonna like it. Or it's gonna at least leave a bad taste in your mouth. But fall back on your mission. Fall back to your training. Fall back on your training, like they say in the military. You always got that to go back to. That's your center point. You are building what you want, how you want it in your life, and then it'll become easier. But don't let it come to the point where it's just like, you just, pulling the trigger on women left and right just because. Is it haram to exercise to enlarge your male organ? I want to rock my swole and I get married. Allahu Ta'ala, bro. I have no idea about this one. This is another question for a scholar. And I personally, I have a hard time asking that one. I don't know. Allahu Alam. Allah knows best. I would say, just from basic logic, which is not a good, reason, point to start from in Islam, that, altering the creation of Allah has been known to be impermissible. As to whether or not this falls into the category of altering the creation of Allah, aka you, I don't know. I would say learn to work with what you got, because Allah granted it to you, and so Allah made you, and I think it's called ahsan and taqweem, in perfect mold, in a perfect form. So accept that your form is perfect, but it's different. It's not going to be. See, this goes into what we're talking about here. See, why would you not rock your wife's world? Because ideally, if you're going into things like properly, and correctly, you should be a virgin, she should be a virgin. So what would be her concept? What would be her preconditioned idea of what is rocking or not rocking her world? You see what I'm saying? We're coming from the premise and the idea and the concept that she has sexual experience already, and that, kind of, and then it's like you're going to be facing some sort of challenges in that department. If she's a virgin, then what does she know? She knows, okay, this is the good stuff. So just be the good stuff. But if you get like some busted vent, a hijabi, yeah, you might have some problems in terms of like, rocking her world. But then that comes down to you and vetting that woman, and not doing it properly. Inshallah. I don't know any YouTube scholars. You know, I know some people that I would listen to that they have stuff on YouTube, but like, guy, I'm Salafi, man. I'm Salafi. So Dawa, man, all these dudes, they're all under the bus for me, bro. I don't listen to those guys. They're all under the bus when it comes down to Aqidah, and it's all under the bus when it comes to Minhaj. I don't mess with those guys. So, I mean, in terms of those types of guys, I don't mess with them, man. I can only recommend to my brothers that I know, that I trust, and that I've seen constantly, like, improving themselves in terms of knowledge. Abu Khadija, Abu Hakim, Hassan Somali, in terms of Western speakers. There's, Abu Yad, all these, other brothers that I know, of that I would recommend. I wouldn't recommend, anybody else. They're on YouTube, but I don't consider them like YouTube scholars. You have to know somebody inside the group, and they have to invite you. There's no other way in right now. Well, there's a way in, but we're not really. It's not that we're not welcoming to to anybody who comes into the regular way. It's just it's better if somebody in the group and they invite you. We're generally not just and you can blame the social media Muslims for this. We just don't want a bunch of crazy people in there. And when you look at the comment sections on my social media, especially here on YouTube, there's nothing but a bunch of crazy Muslims, and we don't want them in our group. We got a good group of guys that are in there vibing properly. We're in there talking about money, fitness, and all types of other stuff. Getting married. We just got a brother who just recently got married. Al-Hum Mubarak. He attributes, I think, to a degree, that we helped him in terms of the mentality, in getting married. Why would we invite outsiders at this point? Look at the way they come here and they act. Why would we think they're going to, Muslims are going to come in the group and act differently? So we're not really open to the idea of taking in newcomers, not unknown people. We're not really interested in strangers. And that sounds bad. I'm not attacking you, but we're just really not interested in people we don't know at this point. That's why the only person I've invited is Abu Trunks, because he's a consistent guy and he's proven to be a good dude so far. But otherwise, we're not really looking to try and add a bunch of people at this point anymore. So if you know somebody in the group, then they can invite you, inshallah. Why is there channels in all over the internet? The way I found your channel is by typing in Ripple Islam. Your channel talks so much truth. I don't know, man. I think I'm like, what do they call it? YouTube censors. I think I'm like kind of. There's a word for it. I forgot what it's called. I'm kind of like censored.
Shadow banned.
Shadow banned. That's it. Thank you. I think I'm shadow banned. I don't know. Bro. I just keep doing what I do, man. How does sister and her family feel about a 10 to 10 Muslim brother having all together except for having wrong done by him and his own family being, oh man, I don't know, bro. Having wrong done to him by his own family and being disowned. How do you call it? It's a tough one, man. That's so subjective. You might have a family that'll overlook it, say, hey, this is a good guy, whatever else, and other people, they're not going to overlook it because they need contact to the family. These are specific communities. Like I know the Southeast Asian community, they're big on like families meeting families. They run into a lot of problems, with that community. It's a tough one, bro. I wish I had an answer for you. It's not something I've ever had to think about before. How is sister and her family about the time Muslim brother? That's a tough one, bro. I can't call that one. I wish I could help you with that one, bro. I really do. This is a question more for someone who comes from like a culturally, Muslim family. I'm the first generation Muslim in my family. I'm the first of the Muslims in my family. So I mean, finding, marriageable people for my family is very difficult on its own. So people who come from multiple generations of like Muslim families, from since before they can remember, it's probably more of a question for them as opposed for me, because they're going to have that more cultural perspective on things as opposed to like an Islamic one. I'm looking at a person and a man and his Islam, and how he behaves Islamically, his Islamic knowledge and practice, and other people are looking at cultural stuff, that might not have a foundation, but it might have an effect. You see what I mean? It's like when you look at a woman, does she have a father in her family, in her life? They're looking at like, does this person have family in his life? They're looking at it from like a similar fashion as we are. But because I don't have experience with that cultural mentality, that's probably a question that's better suited for them as opposed to me. You see what I'm saying? Abuamerican, some of the scholars like Sheikh Fawzan, Fithullah, advise against women going out to the malls marks because of the brands, pictures, etc. in them. Is it bad if a woman wants to go out of her home often?
Bad.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, generally, there was a hadith. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the best place for a woman is her home or something like this. I don't know if this was in regards to the salat or not. Well, I think this was in regards to the prayer. The hadith escapes me. I think it might be in regards to the salah. I forget.
It's obviously women needs to go out with her mahram. That's all.
Yeah, generally, a woman should be out with her mahram. Nobody wants to hear this in the 21st century, but I don't think there's a lot of good to a woman just being out and about and all over the place nowadays. But at the same time, it's like, and this is not like, an excuse for a woman being out all over the place, but, she's not really protected at home anymore because of social media, but still being out and just wandering the streets and all this type of stuff, just being out because it's boring at home or whatever else. I don't think that's a good thing in my humble estimation. I'd agree with the shit, the level of crap I see when I go out, I stay at home a lot, bro. I don't want to be out in the streets. Trust me, man. I don't like being out in the streets.
Me too.
Yeah, I stay off the streets myself. So what's a woman doing out there, man? You know what I'm saying? Or is it a matter of personal preference? I would prefer my wife to be at home as much as possible. Is that reasonable to expect? Yes, it's reasonable. I find it reasonable. It's not a lot of good going on out there in the world right now, man. I mean, we're in corrupt times, man. Your girls running the street, and like I said, she's not even safe at home, but she's safer at home. You know what I mean? In terms of like the corruption. When I'm talking about safer, I'm not talking about physical attacks. I'm just talking about like all the fitna out there, man. It's insane nowadays. So and then it's not really a problem, but there is a problem. They're going to call you controlling. They're going to call you insecure. They're going to say this. They're going to say that. Whatever else. But really, it's the closest to Islam. It's the closer stance to Islam than having women out just running the street and, just doing whatever the hell they want, however they want,
It's because, they buy good stuff like clothing, bags, shoes. For what? For going outside.
They spend money for entertainment.
Yeah, that's why if she doesn't like going outside, she won't buy that stuff.
I don't know if you guys can hear her because I don't have my mic on. But my wife was just basically saying it's like, if she goes out, she's tempted to go out and just spend money that she doesn't need because it's entertainment, shopping for entertainment. So
No.
that's cutting what you said.
You
I'm talking to men here. We're cutting the brass tacks. You're going all girl talk.
If women buy good stuff like clothes, good clothing,
Mm-hmm.
she gotta wear it next time she go out. That's the purpose.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
she want to use that in the house.
So she's saying basically, if your woman goes out and she's shopping, whatever else, she's buying nice clothes. She's gonna buy that nice clothes and wear it outside next time. She's not buying it for in the house. She's buying it for out the house.
Like bags, shoes,
and shoes, or whatever else.
For the next.
She wants to be blingy outdoors, not indoors.
Yeah. If she doesn't like going outside, she won't buy that stuff.
Yeah. So she's not a woman. This is what my wife is saying. If she's not a woman who's like into the outdoors and like just being out on the streets, she's not gonna go out and buy like brand goods because it's not important what you have in the house in terms of branded goods. Yes? Did I translate the girl talk?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So my translator is working well. Viking Paradigm says, if you're doing the right male member workouts, then I would think that it's just like working out. You are keeping a part of your body strong and healthy. Yeah, I don't know about this stuff. That's the thing. Like I never really thought about it. It's just Allah has blessed me with a lot of good genetics. That's all I'll say. Genetically, I've been born tall, strong, fit, relatively sharp mind. So this is not something I've ever actually had to think about. When a guy talks to me about like being short in game, I'm just like, yeah, he's got a point. I don't know his struggle because I'm not a short guy, because 99.95% of women are 6'3" tall. How many women are taller than me? I don't have to deal with women disqualifying me right off the bat just on sight. So it's like, there's a lot of things I don't have to deal with. So this is not an issue I'd have to deal with. That's all I'm saying. So, I mean, it's a tough one for me because, a lot of times what I'm dealing with, the reason why I can help a lot of guys is because I've literally intentionally put myself in the position of a lot of guys. Because sometimes I'm a spatial thinker. I can't think outside the box a lot of times from a hypothetical and just be like, yeah. You know how they got that meme with the person doing the calculations in their head? I'm not that guy. I go through it, and I'm good at real-time problem solving, real-time solution solving. Really good. And then when I'm in that situation, I can like see a lot of different directions because of experience and, spatial thinking. I'm like, oh, okay, these are my options inside the game. So when this guy asked me a question like this, it's kind of like, you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. My friend just found out that the girl he was set to marry had a boyfriend. How can I be there for him? Dude, you just gotta just literally be there for him in a literal sense. Just take him and chill with him and get his mind off that goofy. His mind's gonna be on the goofy forever, of course, because he's gonna obsess over it. I'm taking it he's walked away from the situation. You gotta help him come back to a center point. You gotta help him remember there's better things in his life than some goofy chick who don't know how to not be goofy. You got to help him remember he dodged a bullet. You got to help him remember he's got a mission that he reverts back to. He's got his goal and his missions that he always turns back to no matter what happens. That he is the center point. That didn't work out. Oh, yeah, she was goofy. Whew, dodged the bullet, homie. You know what I mean? You got to help him see the positive in that. That's what you got to do. You got to be that homie to help him understand and work through mentally. Remember what I said right there, mentally, because the situation, his condition right now is emotional. So you got to bring him back to a center point. What's the center point of men? Rationality. You got to bring him back to that center point. First off, dude, you dodged a bullet. Did you see that? She got a boyfriend. Well, what if, she had a kid, it's yours. All these type of things you got to bring back to his mind where he's like, and it's okay as long as it doesn't get crazy to let him be angry. Don't try and take away his anger. Let him deal with his anger. Just don't let that anger get out of control and like rage and whatever else. But it's okay. Let him get mad. Say, dude, just imagine, man, you have to wonder if that was your kid or not. This, that, the other. Yeah. That was that. Oh yeah, all right, let's go shoot some hoops, whatever else. Make sure you're there for a catharsis also to help him rechannel that energy if he gets angry or upset or whatever else. But his emotions need to be kind of disconnected, and you need to bring his rational mind back into play. If he's upset right now, and that's what I take it from this, he's upset. You need to get him thinking as opposed to feeling. Because guys get hurt, and when guys get hurt, it can last for a long time. You don't want him in that position. You don't want him in red pill rage. For weeks, months, years, or whatever else. To where it becomes a personality trait. Some guys, they get hurt by women, and it becomes a personality trait. So you want to help him walk through that, and you do that by bringing him back to his rational mind. You guys going on about Dow, man?
It's 2 hours now.
That's coming up on 2 hours. Would you advise against marrying a man who was abused as a kid? Man, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a therapist. If a person's still dealing with trauma, they need to go see a therapist. That's just a simple fact. Anyone dealing with trauma needs therapy. Anybody who's going through therapy, they don't need to be dealing with another person, because trauma is infectious. It's like an infectious disease, and you don't want to be spreading that crap around. So they need to be in therapy and not in a relationship. Highly educated women are overqualified for being wives and mothers. They'll always feel they're missing out on life. Yes and no. My wife has a degree. I don't have a degree. You know who's?
But this one is bomb lazy.
You know who does my YouTube channel stuff? She does. You know who handles all our DeFi stuff? She does. She learned all that stuff. So I'm like, you better put that stuff to work, girl. You know what I'm saying? It can work to your benefit. Yes, she works for me. You could be to your benefit. Put her to work for you. She can have a drive and a focus. Just it needs to be for you, as opposed to just out for Joe Ahmed out there on the street, or whoever, some manager in some office building. Why not do it for you? I don't know the source of this. It would be nice if we had the source for this, bro. But Sharia Defense Force enforcement says the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, when a woman goes out of her home, Shaitan stares at her, and the mercy of Allah is on her when she's inside her home. I haven't heard that. I've heard something with some sort of wording in this effect. It'd be nice if we had a source for that. Oh my, guys going Alex with the plans. Alex got the plots here. It's a good one. It's easier to keep her at home when she's not with you if you live in a small town where she doesn't have anywhere to go. I live in the armpit of Germany. There's nowhere to go out here. So it is actually a good plan. It's just I'm not used to it. It's just something new. I don't mind. It's just like, okay. He says, Abuamerican, do you not like when a young nephew refers to you as uncle? It's just new. That's all. Inshallah. Whoa, you guys ain't stopping with the questions, man. We're coming about 2 hours here. At 2 hours, I'm gonna call it, but I'm trying to get to the questions. So I'm just scrolling down here. Yeah. Oh man, it's like almost 11. Wow.
2 hours 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. Well, 2 hours and 5 minutes, because I let the intro run for 5 minutes, so the people had a chance to come inside the room and gather numbers. Okay. Yeah. Whew. Read the end of the question, guys.
Somebody else here.
Oops. What happened to my screen? Yeah, someone asked what.
Does that mean it will backfire on me if I buy my wife nice clothes so that they wear it to look good for me?
Oh, so someone was basically asking something to the effect of, does it mean it'll back? Oh, Sharia Defense and Enforcement asked, does it mean it'll backfire on me if I buy my wife nice clothes? So that they wear it to look good for me. So that they wear it to look good for me.
In that case, wouldn't make them to go out of the home more?
If she's wearing it for you, I don't think that's a problem. if she's wearing it like just so she can look at that. You got women who are basically they will put on makeup when they go out of the house, but they won't wear makeup for the husband when he comes home from work. This is a problem. So clothing is not much different. If she's dressing up a particular way to go outside the house, but she's not dressing up for you when she's in the house, this is a problem.
But nobody wear Louis Vuitton in the house.
Well, yeah, shouldn't be wearing that. But I'm like, why is that important anyway?
Yeah,
bikinis.
That's why I said when your wife buy Louis Vuitton, she's gonna go outside and
yeah. I mean, if she dressing up for you, no problem. Then it's not a matter of like a backfiring thing. But if she's dressing up in a way that's like superior for people outdoors or going outdoors, then as opposed to you in the house, this is a problem. Just imagine if you did the male version of that. The male version is like, you spend more money and give more time and attention to strange women than you did your own wife. You think your wife would like, no, it's not a problem, it's okay. She'd be like, yo, this is a problem. So your wife looking good for people outside the house as opposed to you in the house, and you're the one taking care of her. You kind of see the problem here? Yeah. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So guys, Jazakallah khair for tuning in. When's my next trip to London? Allahu Alam, man. Whenever the Rona's over. Whenever the Rona stops being a thing, then probably then. But until then, I ain't talking about coming back out there, man. Because y'all talking about 5,000-pound fines for leaving the UK. Y'all sound like y'all on some whole, escape from New York type of stuff out there in the UK, man. I ain't trying to mess with that. So like I said, barakallahu people tuning in. It's a woman. You know I can't let this one go. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm a woman. To your knowledge, I am allowed to go out with my female friends out in full hijab and eat or go and drink. In full hijab and drink.
No, without her mahram is basically no.
Well, no, I mean, within her local community, I've seen opinions that it's okay for a woman to go outside of the house without her mahram in her local community.
You can't even make Hajj without your mahram, so it's the
Hajj
same.
is different because Hajj requires travel in general. In general, unless you're like from Mecca, but even then, you really shouldn't be making Hajj without your mahram just because of the crowds and whatnot. So,
I think it's permissible.
I do believe it's permissible. But I do think there are limits and restrictions that apply, in terms of like
if eat or drink is beneficial for her.
I don't want to get into speculation and stuff like this.
Yeah, if it's not beneficial.
We're talking about an issue of Sharia here.
Women, when women meet another women, they gossip and they talk about other person that is not with them.
Yeah, but you're like making a speculation.
I'm just saying.
I know I am too, but this is not from Husnul Dhan. So
I know.
Lack of Husnul Dhan is what other people have from me. I don't have that for them. Okay, this is Abuamerican chapter. So
I'm just telling you, that's why.
As far as I know, it's permissible, but I find it, slightly problematic. I mean, slightly. I mean, permissible is permissible. I mean, and what I understand within her community in her area, because I lived in Medina. I lived in Medina in Saudi Arabia, and one thing that I came to find is that the women, when they were doing business, they would lift up the niqab. That was the only time they lifted up the niqab. And I asked a brother, he was a young Talib, he was a young student, and he was, and I was like, what's going on here? I said, why they lift up the niqab to the guy? He said, there's a ruling that basically women, when doing business, or it's not a ruling, or I can't remember if it was a ruling, a hadith, or whatever else, but I think it was a ruling that it's permissible for a woman to lift up her niqab when doing business, and obviously these women were out and about in their local neighborhood without a mahram, so I think it's permissible. As far as I know, as long as she's not traveling, it's permissible for her to be out in her community, without a mahram and other women. But let's come back to a simple point right here. Other women don't like really count in this, because you could have 1,000 women. You're never going to be mahram to each other. You're just going to be a bunch of women traveling without a mahram. So if it comes to the point where it's a point of travel where there's like, a mahram is needed, it could be 1 million women. It's just going to be 1 million women traveling impermissibly. It doesn't matter how many women there are. If you're alone or if you're friends, this is irrelevant to what we're discussing here. Because 1 woman, 10 women are not mahram to each other. A mahram is a man, a male family member. What I'm discussing here is basically in her local community and what constitutes travel. This is what really is in play here.
The distance.
Yeah, the distance. So this is actually a matter of Sharia. I tend to actually avoid these questions intentionally, because sometimes you can accidentally fall into like making fatwa, and that's not what I'm trying to do here. But I'm just going from what I understand. Within her local community, her city, or whatever else, as long as it's not considered travel, she's allowed to be out, by herself or with her friends or whatnot. But when it comes down to travel, like I knew this sister, she traveled to Spain from the UK with a bunch of sisters. Oh, I was with 10 sisters. I'm like, y'all just 10 sisters with a mahram. Y'all just all 10 are flying together haram, And so the amount of sisters you're out with is irrelevant. It's a matter of where are you going in terms of like, are you going somewhere permissible? Obviously not. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, if you wrong, you wrong, and this type of stuff, inshallah. Yeah. Now, anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. We will see you guys. What's my next show? Sunday. If you're interested in cryptocurrency and blockchain, it'll be Blockchain Bros. Alex will be here. We'll be talking about cryptocurrency. I don't know what the topic's going to be. Inshallah, it's the next show. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the super chats, all y'all homies out there. We'll catch you on Sunday. I am out, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.